Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinna. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wild Horse Adoption Program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon. Good morning, friends. It is Friday, May 2nd, a lovely spring morning. It's about 7 a.m. If you've been here before, I'm glad you're here. You'll recognize this walk out to the barn to feed the horses. If you're new here, welcome. Glad to have you. Hope you enjoy at least some of the content that I have. The past couple episodes I've been doing YouTube channel reviews, podcasts that I like to watch. Today I actually have 3 finished objects for you. So I'll talk about that in the knitting segment, but right now we're going to go outside and put on some boots and greet the day. I had a late night for me last night. I went to a concert with a friend. It was KT Tunstall. She's a singer-songwriter originally from Scotland, has been living in America for many, many years, decades, I would say. And it was really great. One of the favorite songs, which has a horse theme, is Big Black Horse and a Cherry Tree, which are, 2 of my favorite things. I love cherries. You don't like me so much, but I can have a few in moderation. And horses, of course. Anyway, it was really fun. It was really fun to get out with a girlfriend I hadn't seen in, I don't know, it hasn't been that long, maybe a month or so. We often get together for coffee, so if you hear me say I'm going to go meet a friend for coffee, it is most likely her. Hello, Shadow. So what else is, here's what you'll notice. My sister-in-law came over and helped us widen our driveway. So I've talked about this before, it's been quite a while, but our neighbor did a survey, and I don't know if you can see this orange line. Well, why don't I walk along it? But his property is on this side of the line, which is pretty dang inconvenient. And we did the right neighborly thing and widened our driveway out a little bit. He said he's not going to fence it off or anything. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that, especially since he's not going to use, he says he's not going to use this piece of property back here, which I assume is, half an acre maybe, and it's very close to this creek, so it would be hard to do any development on it. So we did that. That was all weekend last weekend. Other than that, just activities during the week, working, of course, and I went on a bike ride yesterday because it was close to 71 degrees. I think it is supposed to be quite warm and nice today, maybe not as warm as yesterday. It's kind of funny how it goes from, well, good morning, Odin. I don't know if you heard him. Nicker. Good morning. Whoops, don't fall over anything. Anyway, it's amazing how it goes from being a little too chilly to, dang, it's getting hot. I know, 71 degrees is not hot. Well, I'm going to get to feeding, and I'll see you in the knitting segment. Hello, friends. Welcome to the knitting portion of my podcast. It is a few hours later than the walk from the barn, to the barn. That's where I was going. And I want to share with you, first of all, the finished objects. So, like I said, I have 3. One of them is the vine tank. So I just want to share, sorry, my shoulder still doesn't always want to cooperate, but this is the vine tank. I hope you can see the detail around the neckline and then down here, and then it also goes under the arm, and then it's exactly the same on the back. What I really like about this pattern is that it has great coverage. I was able to use some repurposed yarn. The pattern calls for a cotton yarn, and I used an acrylic nylon blend. It was a Barocco, I think it was a sport weight. So really great. The vine part is a little, the pattern for this, these panels, so there's 4 panels, 2 for the front, 2 for the back. One is labeled right front and the other is labeled left front. And you start on the left front panel. The pattern directions are a little complex. So my recommendation, if you are interested in trying this, is just to knit 4 panels. 2 left fronts, 2 right fronts, and then attach them at the shoulder. It's, I think it's 17 stitches across is how you start. And then it's just super easy to join in the round afterwards. And then it is just going round and round and round. It's a fairly simple lace and cable. It's just 1 cable stitch. So that's really easy. And I think that at least that part would be a good introductory part. I use smaller needles than 1 size smaller. I believe it calls for a size 4. I'm pretty sure I used a US size 3 needle for this, and I really like the fabric and I like the way it fits. I opted for the split hem. So let me stand up here, get out of the sofa. Let me show you this side. So I opted for the split hem. I just like the way that it fits. So you do have to, knit back and forth. So it just depends on whether or not you like that sort of thing. I'm putting my cardigan back on because this hasn't quite warmed up yet. This is the Corran cardigan by the Creabea. I have been wearing this a lot since I took the buttons off. So I just wear it as an open cardigan. This is also cotton, made out of a sport weight. I think it's is it Cotland? Pretty sure it's Cotland by Knit Picks. If I did not say like 2 seconds ago, I updated my Ravelry project page and have a lot of details on this about the modifications that I made. I believe I made a size medium on this, which, like I said, it fits me very well. I really like the way it fits and the coverage. So that is one finished object. I hope you have something nice to drink and maybe a project to work on, because this could be a fairly long one. I have a whole pile of stuff surrounding me. The other finished object that I have, well, I have 2 more to share with you, is my poncho. And I haven't blocked it yet. I haven't blocked this either. I'm not sure that the nylon acrylic blends really, there isn't as much of a benefit to blocking in my opinion and experience. This one, I'll try this on now because I'm not going to leave it on very well. This is a poncho I made from it's supposed to be an Icelandic poncho. I modified it. Icelandic being the pattern, which is kind of a diamond shaped pattern. So what you can see is that instead of diamond shape, I modified it quite a bit and did these owls. Let me put my glasses on so I can really see what I'm looking at here. It bunches up quite a bit at the top. However, the intention is to have this as a riding poncho, which is why I put the slit in. So the pattern actually ended, and these were knit on US size 10 needles, worsted weight yarn. This is the brown, and the cream color is locally produced yarn. The intention is to use this as a riding poncho. So I think it'll be nice to have this kind of up, this kind of bunched and double fabric here with the color work in the winter, or, fall, early spring when it's cold out. So I think that is going to be nice. I thought about removing this kind of turtleneck piece and then blocking the bejeebers out of the color work, which the way that I knit color work a lot tighter than I do anything else. But blocking the bejeebers, and I still may do that. I still may block the bejeebers out of this, and get this part to relax a bit. Maybe I don't have to block the bejeebers out of it, but that is my intention. What I did is that I wanted it long enough to provide good coverage, and I'm going to have to hurry up because it's getting warm wearing this, as you can imagine. But I added this just garter flaps so that I have, so I can get my hands out while I'm riding. And I mean riding my horse. I assumed that you knew that. The other thing that I did is I played a serious game of yarn chicken, and I lost. So this gray yarn is a commercial yarn, patents worsted. And when I was getting close to the end, I knew I wanted a stretchy bind off, and I knit a row, weighed it, my remaining yarn, knit another row, and then just did the math, subtracted, to see how many ounces per row, or grams. And I think it was like 3 grams per row. What I did not factor in is that when I wanted this stretchy bind off, the stretchy bind off always takes more yarn. I just used a bigger needle size to bind off. I think I used a US size 11. And I ran out of, as I was binding off, I ran out of yarn back here. So between here and here, I ran out of gray yarn. So what did I do? I had some grayish green yarn that I finished the bind off. Now, it's really hard to tell. You could tell, you would have to look closely to be able to tell. So here's just the regular yarn. Here's the bind off with the green yarn. So it was some scrap yarn that I had. So this, like I said, I'm going to block this. I'm going to take it off because I'm warm. That'll probably be my thumbnail picture for this video, is me taking this off. I have seen that before in one of my other videos. Anyway, that is the poncho. So super pleased how it turned out. I think hopefully blocking will relax that color work. I may drape it over a square stool outside. I might do that this afternoon, actually, because it's a nice day. Is there anything else I want to say? It's local yarn, US size 10 needles. The ribbing might have been a smaller needle, although I don't remember. And I'm not sure how accurate my notes are in particular project in my project page. I'll have to think about that, and maybe I'll update my project page. Okay, my third finished object. Not surprising, a pair of socks. This is a bag my mom made me. It's a quilted dragonfly pattern fabric with a zipper. I use this bag all the time. And these are my Hermione socks. I did have to re-knit the toe on the second sock because it was actually a little bit shorter than the first one. It's like, well, how did I do that? I'm not sure. So anyway, this is what the socks look like. They're unblocked. Oops, they're unblocked. They will go in my sock stash, which I am keeping in a shoebox on my closet shelf. Freckled Whimsey yarn. Don't remember the colorway specifically, although I think I have I do. It is Harry Potter Year 3. It's When Cars Fly. It's the July 2023 8-stripe repeat. So sock stash. I have plenty of socks, handmade socks in my sock drawer, so I'm just saving these for when I need to replace them. So that's where that's going. I have enough yarn. I think I have 54 grams of the yarn ball left. And maybe 9 grams of the contrast color. So I can at least do a pop of color on the cuff and maybe the heel flap, something like that. So that's just going to go back in the sock knitting pile, and I'll do that sometime later. So, okay. Whew. I was wondering if I wore out the zipper. Those are those. Shall we talk about works in progress? Yes, we shall. I have a couple things going on here that like I said, I have a whole pile down here that I'm just trying to organize. I think really the 2 works in progress I have are the socks that are in this bag. I'm almost done with these. So this will probably be the last time I show them. These are the branches socks that I'm knitting from this 52 weeks of socks by Line Publishing. It's pattern number 4. I'll show you the finished socks. If I didn't say it on the previous pair of socks, I used Chowgu red lace, size 0, so 2 millimeter. So this is the first finished sock, which I have shown before. So fairly complex pattern, lace, cabling, twisted rib or twisted stitches, and then I just grabbed a contrast color out of my stash for the toe. Here is the twisted rib heel flap. And this one was 64 stitches. The other, this Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern is 60 stitches. I think I might start knitting 64 stitches now. I really like the way these fit, especially if I'm doing like cabled or anything that pulls in a little bit. I have 5 more rows of the foot left of this, and then the toe, which is roughly 20 rows. So I will have this finished very shortly. That's where I am with that. So as you can see here, it's just, that much left to go on the toe. The bag, this was part of retail therapy when I injured my shoulder in January. This is a woolen women's box. This is their February box, Rodeo and Romance theme, and that is the colorway. Mine did not come with a contrasting color, but I have lots of scrap yarn that I can do for the toe. And the reason why I did this contrast toe is I was a little worried I was going to run out of yarn, because the cable in this pattern, cabling takes a lot of yarn. So we'll see. We'll see if I have any scraps, which I will have a use for here shortly. Another work in progress is the float tote, which is a crocheted tote bag by Knitty Natty. I am working on the base. I should be going up the size now. This is the base of the tote. What this does, and I'll show the yarn cups here shortly, but this tray fits inside the float tote, and you put yarn cups on it. And these have magnetic snaps that you snap the yarn cups down to it, and it keeps your yarn organized for color work. And it's called a float tote because when you do color work, you have floats. And your yarn can get really tangled up in the bag if you're changing colors. So this will have 3 yarn cups on it when I am finished. And the reason why, one reason why I have been taking a long time with this is because it's 2 strands of cotton held together, crocheted with, this is a 6mm, which I think is a size J, crochet hook. It's hard on your hands. So I just knit or crochet a little bit. I haven't done any today. Maybe I'll do that afterwards, or if I have any musings to chat about, maybe I'll do some crochet then. Hi, Herbert. Herbert's over here inspecting my knitting, and I have to be very careful because he can be a yarn murderer. So this is just a commercial bag that my late mother-in-law gave me some years ago. So let me see, what am I doing? Okay, yep, I am on row 18, so this is where I just start going up the sides. Let me see if I can find a picture of the float tote. This is a pattern by Love in Stitches Knitty Natty, and this was part of a crochet along that ended April 30th. And of course, I did not. Oh, Herbert really wants my poncho. He's gonna, I might have to take that away from him. Yeah, he's digging. So excuse me. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I appreciate your interest. However, one thing I'm kind of excited about, I realized if I have extra yarn for from this float tote, I can make a tank top by, she is a Finnish designer. Her YouTube channel is called Veronika. She has a really nice knitted tank that I made a couple years ago. I've worn it not this year in an episode, so maybe I'll show you that later. Anyway, all that to say that it's a cotton tank, which is great for summer. I could have yarn left over for that, or I could possibly make another Corran cardigan out of the pink, purple, and this. Wouldn't that be lovely? So we'll see how much I have. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I'm trying to show you a picture of the float tote. Here's an example of what the yarn cups look like. So how they attach to the tray that goes in the bottom of your float tote. And then this is an imperfect image of the float tote. So looking forward to that. Get back to where I was. Maybe, since I'm just going in the round and round part, maybe, who knows, maybe this will be a finished object next week. What else do I have going on? Let me look at my notes. I guess I will talk about the new cast on. Well, there goes Herbert. I don't know if you could hear him. I just cast this on this morning. And I mentioned it last week that my next cast on was going to be possibly a colorwork sweater out of this book. It's called Backlit Tee, and I brought a finished example, which is right here. I have worn this in a recent episode. So it's supposed to use self-striping yarn. I use 2 skeins of Legacy Fiber Artz. Okay, well, that was exciting. If I do end up cutting that section out, the cats just started having a yowling match. I have no idea what happened. They have been kind of stalking each other lately, and it happens for a little while, and then they get along, and then there's something like what just happened. So I shushed Harley into the bedroom, and Herbert is currently under this. Well, he's out from under the sofa now. So, yeah, I'll give him a timeout. Sometimes that works. Anyway, here is the Backlit Tee that I made using the Legacy Fiber Artz. It was kind of a complimentary colorway, probably. I don't know if I bought these skeins intentionally or if they were part of a advent. I often buy, or I have a couple times bought advents from Legacy Fiber Artz, but you can see the color work section here, which I think is really nice. This is a cropped sweater. I am going to knit this, I think long sleeve. So this is what it looks like in the book. This is a bag made by my mom, another quilted bag with a drawstring. And this is what I have cast on so far. I have the ribbing done and the increases, and I'm about to start the short rows. So this is the yarn, and this is where I wanted to show you how the yarn cups are used from the float tote. So you put your balls of yarn in these cups. And this is the one I am using, and you can pull from the center. So I typically don't pull from the center, but okay, why not? I mean, usually it's because it makes your yarn kind of sloppy. But here is the self-striping yarn and the main color. So I have 2 skeins of the main color. The self-striping yarn is a Freckled Whimsey. Let me see, I did keep the labels. Another spells and things. It's called Magical Umbrella. It is the August 2023 colorway from the Harry Potter collection. And then I have the second ball of main color in here along with the contrast color for it. It's just a place to store it. So these will attach to that tray, and then you can see how that would be handy for color work. I'm using, the pattern calls for size, US size 5 for the ribbing, and US size 6 for, which is 4 millimeter for the body. So again, gonna make this long sleeve. One of the things I was thinking about as I was pondering this pattern is like, what if I make this the exact same as this one here, but I like the other one better and I never wear this. So I thought, well, I'll just make it long sleeve because I'm pretty sure I have enough yarn for that. So that is that. And what else do I have? Oh, I also indicated that I was going to possibly start another one. I also mentioned, so I hope this doesn't break anyone's heart, that I was, this is my Calliope sweater that I have started unraveling. I've gotten to kind of a hard part. I'm in the raglan part, and so I'm having a hard time kind of figuring out where the best unravel strategy is. I unraveled the body and have this, all of this. So this is mohair and fingering weight held together. And I know that you're supposed to like skein it and then wash it and stuff like that. I often don't bother. So one of the reasons why I was so motivated to finish the poncho is because I needed the needles. So these are the US size 10 needles that I will use for this sweater. And I am also going to use the smaller size is a US size 7, 4.5 millimeter. And what is it I am going to knit, you ask? It is the Love Note. And I do have another Love Note sweater that I really like. So I just thought I would do it again. This is a pattern by Tin Can Knits, and it's a 2019 pattern. So it's nice to have more than one sweater you like to wear out of colorways you like. So that is that. What else do I have? I have knitting plans. So you might be wondering why I don't have another pair of socks cast on right now, and that is because Kay Jones designs 4 patterns every year for her patrons, and her upcoming release, which I want to say is June 1st, is coming out. She has a sock pattern coming out for her patrons, for her Bakery Bear patrons. They are called the Lemon Top socks, and it's named after an ice cream concoction that you can get in the UK. And basically, it's what it sounds like to me. It is a soft serve, maybe vanilla ice cream, maybe a flavored ice cream, I'm not sure. But it has like a lemon sorbet on the top of it, a really bright yellow sorbet. And the socks, the sample socks that she knit are yellow. I do have yellow yarn for that I have in mind. I haven't wound it up yet. I also have my March wool and women that is yellow. So I'm going to have to think about that, look at both skeins of yarn, see which yellow I prefer, and then I'll cast those on in June. So I'm just not really going to cast on any new socks in May unless I can't stand it. We are going to Wisconsin later this month, so who knows? Maybe I will need to cast on a pair of socks for airplane knitting. We'll see what I have going on here. Or maybe the Love Note will be in progress by then and I'll be doing the round and round part. The other planned cast on that I have, Kay Jones also does a summer of stitching for her Bakery Bear patrons. And one of the patterns, the knit pattern, is a mitered square blanket. And you think, oh, well, what's new about that? For one thing, the intent of it is to be able to use advents for it. I don't really have any advents that I plan to use. It's also intended to use scraps, like 3 to 4 gram scraps of yarn that you have. So, and she's also redesigned, so it's smaller squares, and she's also redesigned it so that the decreased stitches go opposite of each other. So typically in a mitered square blanket, and this is her explanation, all the decreases go in the same direction, same diagonal direction. Well, hers is going to like zigzag. So, and you knit it like one column and then down the other, and then the decrease shows a diagonal going in the opposite direction. This appeals to me because you might remember that I have the Coziest Memories blanket on my needles, and it's been hibernating for a long time. The squares are a little big for my taste. It just takes a little too long to knit a square. So it's been hibernating. This 100-acre wood blanket, the summer stitching theme is Pooh Bear, which I think is pretty cool, is same size needles, but smaller. And she said it takes like maybe 20 to 30 minutes, I think, to knit a square. So I think that's going to be more satisfying. So that's another one that I am potentially going to cast on, and that starts in June. So I've started saving some scraps. Excuse me, Herbert. Well, I have one, and this is another bag made by my mom. I got this for Christmas. So very simple drawstring bag, single. It's not lined or anything, but I have this. I think this was from a row one package I got, some monthly subscription I got some time ago. I haven't had row one in quite a while. So that is going in this bag, so I'm starting to accumulate yarn for that blanket. So it's going to need more friends. That little one is going to need more friends here soon. That is it for the planned knitting that I have coming up. I do have a new acquisition. I got my final Woolen Women box, the April box, and the theme is Kentucky Derby, which is possibly this weekend, actually. So very pretty. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I don't think this is going to be socks. There's usually a pattern download. Let's see what it has. Race to Rose's hat. Oh, I'll have to check it out. So this is a hat, which I think this would be a lovely hat, or maybe a scarf, or some other single skein project. I'm not really sure what that would be. I don't know if I could get a tank out of that. I did see a tank pattern recently that looked pretty appealing. I think it was actually a Barocco yarn, so I might have to revisit that. Another candle. So, ooh, goodness, honeysuckle. It's a soy wax candle with Kentucky Derby. There's the roses, and there's the jockey and the horse. And then a mint julep recipe keychain, which mint, sugar cubes, and bourbon. That might be tasty. And then a lanolin lotion bar. Yeah, also, I think this is also honeysuckle. Very fragrant. Also has stitch markers, which I have not opened. It looks like it's a horseshoe and maybe a mint julep. So I haven't opened the package, and I'll spare your ears. So those are the progress keepers or stitch markers. And then it comes with a bag. So hats with fascinators, very popular with the Kentucky Derby. So looking forward to casting this project on. So I'm just going to put these in here, including the pattern download, maybe even the lotion bar. That is that for this episode. What am I going to do the rest of this spring day besides potentially keep the cats separated from each other? Well, I might ride Odin a little bit. It's a beautiful day. I have the day off. I mean, I admit, I checked into my work computer for a little bit this morning. It is hard to turn off the work brain when you have a big project going on or several big projects going on. And then I wound yarn. So that was great. I wound yarn for the Backlit Tee, which is not going to be a tee. I should just call it the Backlit sweater. So that's my plan. I probably need to eat some lunch here soon, even though it's a little early. But I need to have stable blood sugar if I'm going to go out and ride the horse and not get impatient or hangry or anything like that. I am not sure if I may record it. I don't know if I will include it in this footage or this episode. The footage in this episode is what I am trying to say. I do like to try to include some horsemanship stuff. Normally on Fridays, my trainer comes to work with Bragi. Last week, we had a session in the round pen that I thought went really well for Bragi, and she also worked with Odin a little bit, which was great. She is out of town out of state actually on a assignment. She was hired to do some training and lessons in somewhere in the Midwest or the Southeast. Anyway, that's where she is, so she will be back for more Bragi training later. I have some gardening stuff. I transplanted a lot of stuff last weekend. Did I? I feel like I did. I feel like I transplanted a lot of things last weekend. And then we got a rain on Monday, so that was kind of perfect timing. And I have more stuff to transplant this weekend as well. So some Chinese cabbage that is ready to burst out of its pot with its close friends and go into the ground. So I need to make room for that. Well, this could be the last that I see you. Until next time, have a great week. Film. All right, well, I'm gonna do some work with Odin in the round pen. We're just gonna do a little warm up before I get on. He's standing on my string, so maybe the first thing we'll do is get him off the string. Good boy. All right. And we're just going to do what Ryan Rose calls the 3-circle game. And I kind of understand now why it's called 3 circles. So the front end goes in one circle, your feet go in another, and the hind end makes hopefully a wider circle. And what the idea... I really should invest in a microphone if I am going to continue to do this kind of training. So I'm working on the 3-circle game with Odin. This is a Ryan Rose exercise, and I watched one of his videos today, and I have a better understanding of why it's called the 3-circle game. And it's because the horse's front legs are on one circle, its hind legs are on a slightly larger circle, and then the person's feet are on a small circle. So here I'm saying that one suggestion that Ryan Rose said is to back up. The person backs up to bring the horse's nose towards you. It's kind of a draw. So the goal of this is to get the horse to be more flexible in its ribs as it is moving around. So it's kind of like horsey yoga. A couple steps and then yield the haunches so that he's on his hindquarters, and then a back up, especially. So he's getting really good at that. And here I am saying that one thing that is going to help O understand what I'm asking for, like as in moving his hind legs out to a larger circle to bend his ribs around, is to do a turn, to turn his haunches away from me. So he understands that that's the part of the body I'm asking him to use. 3-circle game in the other direction. Well, that's not bad. I don't mind that. I'm just changing directions. Good job. Rib cage out. Could do this for very long, but I'm trying to get him to bend. There we go. There you go. That was a good one. And the goal isn't to necessarily drill the horse in this exercise. So just do it until they get it, maybe make sure that they have it correct, or at least taking some steps towards correctness, and then move on to something else. And then I'm going to saddle him. So this is, well, not saddle him, put the bareback pad on. But this is part of his training because he doesn't always like having the saddle on. So I was satisfied with the little bit of progress that he made, and this is something that we will need to practice.
and then I was going to work on saddling, which is also can be a training issue because he tends to want to walk away. So Ryan Rose's method for this, and if you're interested, check out Ryan Rose's channel on YouTube, Ryan Rose Horsemanship, is to release the horse to the saddle. So in other words, if they don't want to be saddled and say they want to back up or move away, you agree with them. It's like, okay, we won't put the saddle on, but we are going to do this other exercise that may be more difficult than putting on the saddle. So that's what it means by releasing to saddle. I haven't actually started saddling him yet. I am still using the bareback pad. I hope to get to saddling here soon. My right arm is feeling a whole lot stronger.
Be able to see he's still shedding like crazy. You're a handsome fella. Handsome fella.
But first I have to dust him off. So it's always nice to have a somewhat clean horse so that any dirt on them doesn't abrade them, or so that the saddle pad and girth doesn't abrade them. He's still shedding quite a bit, so I tend to get a fair amount of hair off every time I brush him.
Those things, so actually having a target right there for him to touch may be to my advantage. So we'll see. It seems to have worked, so I didn't even have to demonstrate what the next step is.
And I didn't have to do the exercise that to release him to the saddle, and mostly because I put some objects on that where his saddle pad was. That he likes to target, so he was a little bit distracted by that. And the good news is he didn't try to walk away when I was putting the bareback pad on him. his bridle, just make sure nothing's pinching him. By the way, I'm working on my crocheting on my float tote while I'm editing. Odin likes to stand like right over the mounting block, which makes it a little inconvenient to mount. So I usually end up adjusting him a little bit.
Take some responsibility.
And I always give him a cookie for standing still. Part of it, you know, I'm grateful that he does that. So I'm just talking about warming up and having him on a nice loose rein so he has some responsibility just in terms of steering. I mean, I still want him to go on the path that I want him to go, but I'm going to use my legs. Part of it is that I want to warm him up for the exercise that I have in mind, which builds on that 3-circle game where I want him to use his haunches in a way, kind of crossing under him. For one thing, it helps his posture. Oh, that's nice. He's blowing out, releasing some tension.
Do 2 things at once. Okay, we are going to. Yeah. So he just spooked at my stick, rubbing the. Bragi.
So Pet's behaving badly. Bragi is rubbing against a tree. He's got an itchy neck, and I do feel for him, but I'm concerned that he is going to get caught up in that chicken wire that is wrapped around the tree. And the chicken wire is there to prevent him from chewing on it, or both of them chewing on that nice big fir tree. So I guess it's a good thing I don't have a microphone since I'm yelling at him. And what my favorite thing about Odin is that I can make a commotion on him, Bragi, and he doesn't get too excited. I mean, one point, and you might see this, I start banging on the side of the round pen with my stick to make some noise. And I'm sure that Bragi does this when I'm not out there to monitor him. He has his fly mask on, so that is why I'm there and banging on the round pen. He has his fly mask on, so I have bigger concerns about him getting caught in that chicken wire. I mean, it's pretty secure, but I don't know, horses are excellent finders of ways of hurting themselves. Oh, sorry, this goes on for a while. And at one point, I get off and get the other stick and string and wave it at him. And that does give him the idea. More banging. Well, I hope you're working on a nice project like I am. I'm almost done with the purple part of the float tote that I was showing earlier. Sometimes Bragi's really a toddler. I don't have kids, so I don't know if that's really true.
Well, it works. Okay. Hang on. Hang on to the saddle pad. Thank you. Good boy. So it doesn't slide. Yes, you're a very good boy. Okay, I think we were going to the right. We finish that, and we'll work on the other two things. Ready? Okay, work on. So what I'm working up to is kind of an extension of that 3-circle game. It's called a leg yield.
I am going to let them both out in that pasture here for a couple of hours.
Probably does this all the time. We're just warming up still. Walking over some poles just to make sure Odin can pick up his feet. He's listening to my leg by going into these turns. Okay. Good job. Good work, buddy. Okay, so I'm just going to gather him up a little bit. Down a bit, a little bit. And then you're going to turn theoretically the center line and leg yield to the left. Is what our goal is.
That's commentary about the weather.
Again, turn down the center line.
So I'm just reminding him to listen to my leg, and again asking him to take some responsibility for listening to direction without really having a grip on the reins. So this is where I start the exercise of, trying to ask him to leg yield. So if you saw my video, let's say it was probably the beginning of April,
He's listening to my leg.
I demonstrated what a leg yield is. So it's a forward motion but also with the sideways component, and ideally they move in their shoulders and haunches move more or less in a straight line. Odin tends to lead with his shoulder, so I'm trying to ask him to use his hindquarters more. And like the other exercise I was talking about, it's it just helps him use their body better.
Really flexed up front. His neck's bending around, but I'm not quite convinced the hindquarters are up yet. And this could be his more active.
Yeah, so I could feel I'm giving him praise every time I feel him get it right, even if it's just a step or two. I think that's really important to build a horse's confidence. And making making sure that you're recognizing their effort. I think that's important.
Good job. So there's something I need to do with the reins too to block the shoulder from turning. So we'll try that again. Start our turn. Good job. Nice. And then we need to prevent shoulder bleeding. Good job. Yep. No. There we go. No, forward. Forward. There we go. Walk on. Good. Get the hiney to catch up. There you go.
So I was just describing how he kind of cheats sometimes, like he'd get really bendy in his neck, but his shoulders are still leading and his hindquarters are lagging behind, so he's not really in balance. And then when he gives me that try, when I can feel that try with the hind end, that's when.
Shoulders.
And he does have one side that's harder than the other, so I worked on.
So I think what I need to do, let him blow out. We need to ask him to just move his punches. There you go. Good job. And one more. Good job. Nice work. Okay. See if that's really what I imagined it was. I want the video back.
I think he was trying to move just sideways, and I was trying to get him to do the forward motion.
There we go. The shoulder is still leading. So there we go. Good job. Now walk on. Walk on. And here we go. There we go. That was good. So it's just a matter of him understanding how to use his body.
It was nice to hear him release by blowing out, release some tension.
There you go. Good job.
I'm just trying to help
So you got
him
the last couple
understand
ones, right?
what the ask
Do it one more
is. So I think
time.
I asked him to move his hindquarters over. And the main thing is just to keep practicing.
There you go. Good job. You got the hiney that time. Work on. There you go. Okay, so I think, I don't know if this will help him. I'll try to do a side pass.
He does get a little bit confused. I'm having to ask him to move forward because sometimes he thinks I'm asking for a lateral movement. And I do want lateral, but also forward.
Okay, we're gonna try it out. Leg heel again. Let's see if we can make it across. Good job. There you go. Good work. Okay. I think we're going to try it in the other direction. Yeah, let's just go this way. Walk. That's much better.
Just trying to recognize anytime he gives me the right answer. Just trying to make sure that he understands what the question is that I'm asking and help him solidify in his mind what the right answer is.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Good job. Good. Only thing we haven't done so far is back up. That was pretty darn good, I think, so we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. This off. This off. Cookie.
I'm almost done with the ride, so I'm going to stop recording here. Enjoy the rest of the video.
Yeah, you were super good. Good work. Super good. All right, go have your roll. You want your fly mask on?